There comes a moment in every person's life when they finally realize the greatest battle they will ever fight is the one taking place inside their own mind. Not the fight with the world, not the fight with circumstances, not even the fight with the past. The true war is waged in the silence of your thoughts, in the quiet corridors where doubt whispers, fear lurks, and temptation tries to pull you back into the comfort of mediocrity. And the truth is simple, yet brutally unforgiving. Either you command your mind, or your mind will command you. Most people walk through life unaware of this invisible power shaping everything they do. Their minds run wild, undisciplined, unfocused, like a horse without reins or a ship without a captain. They spend their days reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of expanding, waiting instead of taking. But every person who ever built something extraordinary, every empire, every invention, every fortune did so because they learned to take control of the only territory that truly matters, the inner kingdom of thought. Look at the giants of history. Edison didn't simply invent the light bulb, he commanded his mind to hold a vision. Long after the world told him to quit. Henry Ford didn't merely build a car, he refused to let doubt interrupt the picture he carried in his imagination. Carnegie didn't stumble into steel, he trained his mind to think in terms of abundance. When others were drowning in scarcity, these men weren't superhuman. They simply understood what most ignore. Your mind is the workshop where fate is forged. And if you don't give it orders, it will take orders from fear. So ask yourself, who is in charge right now? Is it you? Or is it the voice that talks you out of greatness before you even start? Because that voice is clever, it's ancient, it's familiar. It will tell you, not today. It's too hard. You're not ready. Maybe someday. But someday is the graveyard of dreams. And every moment you delay, the mind grows stronger in its default patterns. Patterns of doubt, patterns of hesitation, patterns of small thinking, scarcity thinking, survival thinking. The world will tell you the mind is complicated, but it's not. It's obedient. It listens to repetition. It listens to emotion. It listens to the images you feed it. The mind becomes the servant of whatever you consistently allow inside it, good or bad, discipline or distraction, purpose or confusion. So when you wake up every day and fill your mind with noise, comparison, cheap entertainment, fear, negativity, gossip, the regrets of yesterday, and the worries of tomorrow, do you know what you're actually doing? You're training the mind to work against you. You're teaching it to run your life on autopilot. You're letting it command you. But when you decide to take control, when you decide that you will be the master architect of your thoughts, everything changes. Because the mind is powerful, but it is also loyal. It will move in the direction you train it to go. And this is where discipline enters the picture. Discipline is not a punishment. It is the language of self-respect. It is the highest expression of self-belief. Those who command their minds don't wait to feel motivated, they create the feeling. They don't wait for confidence, they build it. They don't wait for clarity, they sit down with their thoughts and carve it out. The world may applaud talent, luck, or charisma, but the universe itself responds only to one thing: a disciplined mind aligned with a clear purpose. A mind like that becomes unstoppable. A mind like that breaks generational limits. A mind like that can take a person from poverty to wealth, from obscurity to influence, from confusion to a legacy that outlives them. And it all begins with the decision to stand guard at the doorway of your thoughts. Because your mind is always listening, always absorbing, always shaping what comes next. Every thought is a blueprint. Every emotion is fuel. Every belief is a command. And right now, at this very moment, you are giving your mind instructions through what you imagine, through what you accept, through what you tolerate. The question is, are those instructions leading you to the life you want, or the life you fear? You see, nothing changes on the outside until something changes on the inside. This is the eternal truth behind every breakthrough, every reinvention, every comeback story written by those who refused to settle. The world around you is a reflection of the world within you. Control the inner world, and the outer world rearranges itself. This is not philosophy, this is the lived experience of leaders, creators, innovators, and visionaries across centuries. Lincoln controlled his mind through loss and failure. Disney controlled his mind through bankruptcy and rejection. Oprah controlled her mind through trauma and poverty. Hill himself transformed every adversity into a mental command. I will not be denied my destiny. So, whatever you face right now, remind yourself, the battle is not out there. It is here, in the mind. And when you seize that power, when you fully accept that your thoughts, not your circumstances, create your reality, you stop being a victim of life and start becoming the author of it. And once you understand this truth, the question becomes, what will you allow to live inside your mind? Because your thoughts are not visitors, they are builders. Every doubt builds a wall. Every fear builds a cage. But every disciplined thought builds a bridge between the person you are and the person you are destined to become. Most people never cross that bridge because they never take ownership of the thoughts that shape their destiny. They let the mind replay old failures as if they were prophecies. They let the mind resurrect the judgments of people long gone. They let the mind rehearse excuses until excuses become identity. But you're right here, right now, have the opportunity to break that pattern. You have the power to turn the mind from your enemy into your greatest ally. And it begins with clarity, clarity of purpose, clarity of vision, clarity of identity. Because a mind without clarity is like a warrior without armor, it falls to the first attack. But a mind with clarity, nothing can penetrate it. The world bends to it. Think about it. Every great achievement in history began with a mind that knew what it wanted. Edison wanted light. He saw it before it existed. Ford wanted a car for the common man. Everyone said it was impossible. His mind did not. Disney wanted a place where imagination came alive. The banks refused him. His mind did not. Clarity is the seed of all power. Without it, the mind wanders. With it, the mind sharpens. And when the mind sharpens, your life sharpens. Decisions become easier. Habits become stronger. Discipline becomes natural. Because the mind loves direction. It loves purpose. It loves certainty. Give it those, and it will move mountains for you. Deny it those, and it will destroy your potential from the inside. This is why you must set your vision with intention, not vague hopes, not casual wishes, but a vision so vivid it feels like a memory of the future. You have to see it. You have to feel it. You have to live inside that vision long before it becomes real, because the mind cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. It only responds to repetition. When you tell it every day, "This is who I am becoming," the mind adjusts your identity to match that command. And once your identity shifts, your habits, actions, standards, and destiny must follow. But clarity alone is not enough. You must fortify that clarity with belief. Belief is the fire that makes vision breathe. Belief is the force that keeps you standing when the world pushes back. Belief is the armor that shields you from the arrows of doubt. And make no mistake, doubt will come. Fear will come. Setbacks will come. They are not signs you are failing, they are signs you are moving. Every person who ever climbed beyond the limits of their environment faced resistance. But they faced it with a weapon most people never develop, a mind trained to believe in its own power. Napoleon Hill wrote that faith is the only known antidote to failure. But faith is not passive. It is not blind. It is not accidental. Faith is a mental discipline. It is a choice, a decision to align your thoughts with possibility rather than limitation. The moment you believe something is possible, your mind begins working toward it. The moment you believe something is impossible, your mind stops working altogether. So ask yourself, is your belief system supporting your vision or suffocating it? Does your mind lift you or limit you? Does it encourage you or sabotage you? Because the mind will obey whichever voice. You feed faith or fear, expansion or excuses, discipline or comfort. Once belief takes root, the next step is action, consistent, disciplined, unapologetic action. Not bursts of motivation, not emotional highs. Action born from identity and purpose. Action driven by a mind that understands one truth. You cannot think your way into a new life without acting your way into it. Every step you take reinforces the command you gave your mind. Every disciplined choice sharpens your identity. Every small victory expands your self-belief. Action is the bridge between mind and reality. Action is the test of conviction. Action is the proof that you are in command. And you must act even when you don't feel ready, because readiness is not an emotion, it is a decision. Most people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, the perfect plan. But perfection is paralysis. The great ones move before they feel ready. They move because their mind has been trained to follow purpose, not feelings. Feelings fluctuate. Purpose does not. That is why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is a furnace. And those who command their minds build discipline like a ritual. They wake up before excuses wake up. They work when the mood disappears. They choose growth over comfort. They choose purpose over pleasure. They choose identity over impulse. Because they understand that every decision is a stroke of the hammer shaping the person they are becoming. And this is the truth most never embrace. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to do hard things. Discipline is about becoming the kind of person who no longer negotiates with weakness. A disciplined mind is a liberated mind because once discipline becomes your nature, You are no longer held hostage by temporary emotions. You no longer crumble under pressure. You no longer bow to old habits or fall prey to the whisper of excuses. Instead, you rise, you take ownership, you move with intention, you act from identity, not insecurity. And this is where true transformation begins, when the mind you once struggled to control becomes the engine that drives you forward. When the thoughts that once sabotaged you begin to serve you. When the habits that once drained you become the rituals that elevate you. But to reach this point, you must confront the shadows within your own mind. Not avoid them, not numb them, not bury them. Confront them, the doubts you carry, the fears you inherited, the stories you replay, the guilt you cling to, the insecurities you hide. Most people never face these shadows. They run from them. They choose distraction over introspection. They choose noise over clarity. They choose comfort over truth. But the people who rise, the people who build, who lead, who transcend are the ones who understand that the mind does not become powerful because you ignore its weaknesses. It becomes powerful because you master them. You do not need to eliminate fear, you need to understand it. Fear exists to protect the mind from danger, but in the modern world, fear often protects us from growth instead. It whispers, stay where you are. Don't take risks. Stay safe. But safe is not where purpose lives. Safe is not where success grows. Safe is not where destiny unfolds. Greatness requires the courage to walk toward the discomfort your mind tries to avoid. Because discomfort is the birthplace of evolution. Discomfort is the classroom where strength is learned. Discomfort is the training ground of the mind. Every time you choose discomfort over ease, you train the mind to obey your commands. Every time you choose growth over familiarity, you teach your mind who is truly in charge. And the more you do this, the more your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries. You start seeing yourself as someone who becomes, someone who adapts, someone who overcomes, someone who refuses anything less than their potential. Adaptability, this is the next level of mental mastery. Life will change. Plans will evolve. Circumstances will shift. And if your mind is rigid, fragile, or inflexible, you will break under the weight of uncertainty. But if your mind is adaptable, if you can adjust, pivot, and respond with resilience, no setback can defeat you. Look at the individuals who reshaped industries and altered history. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times. He didn't break, he adapted. Abraham Lincoln lost election after election. He didn't retreat, he adapted. Walt Disney was fired, rejected, bankrupt. He didn't surrender, he adapted. They trained their minds to see obstacles not as the end, but as information. Not as punishment, but as instruction. Not as failure, but as redirection. Because the mind that thrives is the mind that adapts. And the mind that adapts is the mind you control, not the one that controls you. But resilience is more than bouncing back. It is the art of rising with wisdom. It is the ability to stand taller after every setback. It is the ability to turn every wound into power. It is the ability to remind yourself, even in the darkest moments, that you are not done yet. Every person you admire, every success story you look up to, every titan you respect has endured storms that would have destroyed the average person. What made them unstoppable wasn't luck, connections, money, or talent. It was the strength of their inner world. It was the voice inside that said, "Keep going." It was the belief that refused to die. It was the command that echoed through their mind. "You will not break me." And here lies the real secret. Resilience is not a trait. It is a decision. A mental decision to rise instead of retreat, to learn instead of surrender, to push instead of pause. But to make that decision consistently, you must cultivate gratitude. Not the passive gratitude people talk about online, but active gratitude, the kind that strengthens the mind, sharpens perspective, and rewires your emotional patterns. Gratitude is the antidote to entitlement. Gratitude is the weapon against cynicism. Gratitude is the reminder that even in struggle, you have strength. When your mind learns to see the blessing hidden inside struggle, the opportunity hidden inside pain, and the message hidden inside loss, you become untouchable. A grateful mind cannot be defeated, because it always finds fuel. A grateful mind cannot be broken, because it always finds meaning. A grateful mind cannot be controlled by circumstances, because it understands that power is internal, not external. Gratitude turns the mind from scarcity to abundance, from frustration to clarity, from chaos to direction. It aligns you with the truth that everything you need to grow is already within you, waiting for your command. And when gratitude merges with purpose, something extraordinary happens. Your mind becomes unstoppable. Your thoughts become intentional. Your actions become powerful. Your standards rise automatically. You stop chasing success and start attracting it. You stop chasing validation and start embodying it. You stop chasing motivation and start generating it. A mind aligned with purpose moves differently. It chooses differently. It speaks differently. It believes differently. Because once your mind accepts a purpose, it reorganizes your entire life around that mission. It shapes your habits. It alters your perception. It filters out distractions. It elevates your standards. The mind becomes a guardian of your destiny, pushing away everything that does not align with who you are becoming. Purpose gives the mind direction. Discipline gives the mind structure. Belief gives the mind power. Gratitude gives the mind peace. But to truly command your mind, you must master one more principle. Focus, the single most valuable currency in the modern world. We live in a time where the average person's mind is pulled apart by 1,000 invisible ropes. Notifications, opinions, comparisons, noise, pressure, anxiety, urgency. And in the storm of distraction, people lose the ability to think, to plan, to imagine, to build. They are mentally exhausted without ever using their minds for something meaningful. Focus is not simply the ability to concentrate, it is the ability to protect your attention from what does not matter. It is the art of saying no. It is the discipline of guarding your mental energy as fiercely as a king guards his throne. Because your mind cannot serve two masters. It cannot hold a vision while drowning in noise. It cannot build greatness while chasing distractions. It cannot rise in power while collapsing under chaos. Every great thinker, every innovator, every leader, every empire builder understood this truth. They learned to isolate their mind from the world long enough to hear their own thoughts. They carved out space for reflection, strategy, intention, They stepped away from noise to see the bigger picture. Focus is the environment where clarity grows. Focus is the environment where ideas breathe. Focus is the environment where breakthroughs happen. And this is why so many people struggle. They are not lacking potential. They are lacking focus. Their mind is full, but not with the right things. And a cluttered mind cannot create. A flooded mind cannot rise. A scattered mind cannot command anything, not even itself. To reclaim your focus, you must reclaim your inner silence. You must disconnect from the unnecessary. You must starve the mind of distractions and feed it direction. Because what you focus on expands. Focus on fear, and fear grows. Focus on obstacles, and obstacles multiply. Focus on excuses, and excuses become your identity. But focus on possibility, and possibility reveals itself. Focus on growth, and growth becomes inevitable. Focus on purpose, and your life aligns with destiny. When you direct your focus with intention, the mind becomes a laser. And a laser can cut through anything: doubt, fear, resistance, limitation. It becomes a tool, a weapon, a compass. It becomes the most powerful force you have. But even focus needs fuel. And the fuel of the mind is continuous learning. The moment you stop learning, your mind stops expanding. You become rigid, outdated, stagnant. Every great leader, whether in business, science, art, or philosophy, was a relentless student of life. They devoured knowledge. They sought wisdom. They asked questions. They studied the world. But more importantly, they studied themselves. Carnegie sought mentors. Edison read voraciously. Ford questioned everything. Hill spent decades interviewing the most powerful minds of his era. They weren't learning for entertainment, they were learning to evolve, to strengthen their intelligence, to sharpen their perception, to stretch the limits of what was possible. Learning is not a task. It is a lifestyle. It is the daily sharpening of the tool that shapes your destiny. It is the continual refinement of the mind you command. But learning without application is wasted potential. Knowledge without action is spiritual laziness. Information without discipline dies unused. So the mind must learn, and then the mind must do. This is where most people break the chain. They consume inspiration, but never transform it into action. They collect ideas, but never implement them. They gather wisdom, but never embody it. But you are not here to collect inspiration. You are here to build transformation. You are here to take what you learn and let it reshape how you live, how you think, how you move. Because mastery is not in knowing, it is in applying. Mastery is not in understanding, it is in becoming. Mastery is not in information, it is in integration. When your mind becomes a place where learning turns into action and action turns into identity, everything around you changes. Opportunities begin to appear. People begin to notice. Momentum starts to grow. And the life you once dreamed of begins to feel inevitable. This is the power of a mind under command. It creates momentum from nothing. It generates confidence from small wins. It builds strength from discipline. And once momentum begins, it becomes a force almost impossible to stop. And yet, even momentum requires one more element: inner peace. Not the kind of peace you find by avoiding life. Not the peace that comes from silence or meditation alone, but the peace that comes from alignment when your thoughts, actions, and purpose move in the same direction. Inner peace is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are walking the right path, becoming the right person, building the right future. It is the calmness of someone who no longer fears chaos because they have mastered the battlefield within. A mind in chaos is a mind that commands you. A mind in peace is a mind you command. Because when inner peace settles into the mind, clarity becomes your natural state. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop chasing approval. You stop fearing the unknown. You begin to move through life with a calm authority, a quiet certainty, an unshakable confidence that comes from within and cannot be taken by anything outside of you. Inner peace is not passive, it is power under control. It is strength without noise. It is ambition without anxiety. It is purpose without panic. A chaotic mind tries to control everything around it. A disciplined mind only controls what matters: thoughts, actions, responses, decisions. And this is where you finally begin to understand the deeper truth. Commanding your mind is not about domination. It is about direction. It's about guiding your mental energy toward your highest self, your greatest potential, your future calling you forward. It's about building a mind that serves your purpose instead of suffocating it. But none of this purpose, discipline, clarity, focus, resilience, gratitude, learning, none of it will manifest without one final pillar: identity. Your mind follows who you believe you are. If you believe you're average, you'll think average thoughts. If you believe you're limited, you'll see limited paths. If you believe you're powerless, your mind will obey that command. But if you believe you were built for greatness, if you believe you are capable of more, if you believe your life has meaning beyond your circumstances, then your mind begins to shift. Your thoughts become bolder. Your choices become sharper. Your actions become aligned with expansion, not fear. Identity is the compass of the mind. It determines your standards. It shapes your habits. It dictates what you tolerate and what you reject. This is why so many people feel stuck. They are trying to change their life without changing their identity. They are trying to build new habits with old beliefs. They are trying to rise with a mindset built for survival, not success. But identity is malleable. It evolves when you command it to. You must speak to yourself differently. You must act as the person you want to become, not someday, but today. You must treat your future self as if they are already within you, waiting to emerge. When you begin to embody a higher identity, the mind has no choice but to follow. Thoughts rise, actions rise, standards rise, life rises. Identity is the birthplace of destiny. And once your identity aligns with your purpose, you begin to step into a new dimension of mental power, one where the mind no longer resists your commands but eagerly executes them. One where self-doubt dissolves into self-direction. One where fear becomes a signal, not a barrier. One where obstacles become stepping stones, not stop signs. And there is something extraordinary that happens at this stage. You begin to attract what you once chased, not through luck, not through chance, not through external validation, but through the internal alignment of a mind under authority. Opportunities come to those who command their mind, because the mind sends a signal to the world. I am ready. I am capable. I am becoming. There is a magnetic force that surrounds a person who knows who they are and what they want. You've seen it. You've felt it. That quiet intensity, that unspoken confidence, that unmistakable energy of someone who refuses to be controlled by fear or doubt. This is the energy of a person who has mastered the inner world. But even mastery requires maintenance. Even mental strength must be reinforced daily. Your mind will drift if you do not guide it. It will slip into old patterns if you do not remind it who is in charge. Commanding your mind is not a what-time decision, it is a lifelong practice. It is the daily choice to think intentionally, to act deliberately, to speak powerfully, to believe relentlessly. It is the decision to become the guardian of your own potential, to stand watch over your thoughts. Protect your focus, strengthen your discipline, honor your purpose, and cultivate your inner peace. And make no mistake, the world will test you. Life will challenge you. Circumstances will pressure you. But a mind you command does not collapse under pressure, it sharpens under it. It does not break in adversity, it expands through it. It does not surrender to difficulty, it rises above it. This is how leaders are born. This is how legacies are built. This is how destinies are fulfilled. You do not need the perfect environment. You do not need the perfect plan. You do not need the perfect timing. You need a mind under command. Because once the mind obeys your purpose, life obeys your direction. And as you rise into this new level of self-mastery, you begin to see the truth many never discover. The mind was never your enemy, it was your greatest power, waiting for you to lead it. And understand this truth. The mind that is not commanded becomes a breeding ground for excuses. When you refuse to lead it, it begins to lead you slowly, silently, subtly toward the very life you swore you'd never settle for. A drifting mind doesn't destroy you with a single explosion. It destroys you grain by grain, habit by habit, hesitation by hesitation. It convinces you to delay one more day, rest one more hour, wait for perfect conditions that will never arrive. It whispers, "There's no rush, later will be better. You deserve comfort." And comfort becomes a coffin, soft, silent, lined with wasted potential. But when you command the mind, when you seize that inner throne and sit atop it with intention, a new force awakens. You begin to see that discipline was never punishment. It was liberation. Structure was never restriction. It was a path. And effort was never exhaustion, it was the price of becoming more. Greatness has always been a negotiation with the mind. Edison negotiated with exhaustion as he fell asleep on workbenches waiting for breakthroughs. Lincoln negotiated with despair during years when the world doubted him. Oprah negotiated with her own story, rewriting it one belief at a time. Every titan of history faced the same invisible war, the tug of war between who they were and who they demanded themselves to become. You are no different. The battlefield is internal, the enemy is subtle, and the victory is earned through 1,000 small choices you make when no one is watching. Because the moments that shape your destiny rarely announce themselves, they disguise themselves as tiny decisions. Whether you rise when the alarm rings, whether you speak belief into yourself or surrender to doubt, whether you do the extra repetition, the extra hour, the extra act of courage when you're tired. Unnoticed, uncelebrated. These are the quiet turning points that the future records loudly. Commanding your mind begins with watching your thoughts like a guardian at the gate. You cannot afford to let just anything enter. A single doubt, if entertained long enough, becomes a story. A single fear, if fed consistently, becomes a barrier. A single negative idea, repeated silently, becomes an identity. You must become ruthless with mental intruders. Doubt knocks, question it. Fear whispers, interrogate it. Laziness enters, challenge it. The mind respects strength. It listens to the voice that speaks most consistently. So speak deliberately, speak powerfully, speak truth. Not limitation, but commanding the mind is not about forcing positivity. It is about directing focus. The mind expands whatever you feed it: vision or fear, goals or excuses, possibilities or roadblocks. Hill once wrote that the mind is a servant waiting for orders. If you don't give it orders, it follows its impulses. And impulses rarely build empires, they build cycles. So create a vision so clear your mind cannot ignore it. Imagine it until it feels familiar. Feel it until it becomes uncomfortable not to pursue it. Let your dreams become your mental home, the place. Your thoughts return to automatically when your mind is saturated with purpose. Discipline becomes less of a chore and more of a natural response. And when discipline becomes instinct, life begins to bend in your favor. But clarity alone is not enough. You must also confront your inner storms. Every mind carries a storm: fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of struggle. Fear is not the enemy. Submission to fear is. The greatest minds in history did not eliminate fear, they mastered it. They turned fear into focus, pressure into power, doubt into data. They realized that the human mind is wired to protect you, not elevate you, and elevation requires discomfort. Commanding your mind means reminding yourself that discomfort is evidence of expansion. Growth does not feel calm. Evolution does not feel safe. The cocoon does not feel pleasant to the butterfly, and yet breaking out of it is destiny. When your mind tells you, stay where you are, it's safer. Answer with, safety is not the goal, becoming is. And then act. Because the mind follows motion. Action sharpens focus. Action dissolves fear. Action rewrites identity. A single bold move can shift your entire mental state. The fastest path to mental mastery is to do the thing your fear tells you to avoid. But command does not mean pressure without pause. You are not a machine. You are a force of nature. You need silence as much as you need speed. You need reflection as much as you need ambition. Napoleon Hill understood this balance. He often said that a quiet mind is where the greatest ideas whisper. The world speaks loudly, but truth speaks softly. So take moments each day to still the noise. Breathe. Observe your thoughts instead of reacting to them. You will notice patterns, beliefs you inherited, limitations you absorbed, doubts that were never yours to begin with. When you see these patterns clearly, you gain the power to rewrite them. The mind is not a cage, but a canvas, and every new thought is a brushstroke. Paint with intention. Paint with purpose. Paint with a level of self-respect that refuses to let your story be written by fear, fatigue, or the expectations of others. And as you deepen your command, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to attract opportunities that match your discipline. People begin to feel your conviction before you speak it. Energy returns, focus sharpens, doubt shrinks, and the world responds to you differently because you respond to yourself differently. And understand this truth deeply. Your mind is not a passive observer of your life. Your mind is the architect, the builder, the sculptor, and the destroyer. It is this silent force constructing the patterns you live in every single day. And if you do not seize it with intention, if you do not claim command over it with unwavering discipline, it will take control in ways that sabotage your future. Because the mind loves patterns, especially the comfortable ones, the predictable ones, the ones that require no courage, no risk, no evolution. And this is where most people fall, not because they lack talent, but because they never learned to interrupt the patterns that hold them hostage. They never learned to challenge the inner voice that tells them to settle. They never learned to stand up to the whispering doubts that creep in when failure feels too close and success still feels out of reach. But you are here because something inside of you refuses to die quietly. Something inside you is demanding expansion. Something inside you is insisting there is more. And that is the spark most people never listen to. Now listen carefully. Every great transformation begins with a mental rebellion, a refusal to allow old programming to dictate new destiny. Think about the giants of history, those who shaped the world with nothing but desire, determination, and unshakable mental control. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automobile industry because he had better tools. He revolutionized it because he had a mind that refused to obey the limits the world tried to impose on him. It can't be done, they said. It's impossible, they repeated. Ford didn't argue. He didn't fight them. He simply trained his mind to believe. Whether you think you can or you think you can you right. And because his mind obeyed his command, the world eventually obeyed his vision. Thomas Edison didn't create the light bulb because he had perfect conditions. He created it because he mastered the inner dialogue that destroys most dreams. 10,000 failed experiments, 10,000 disappointments, 10,000 opportunities for self-doubt to scream, give up. Edison refused. He didn't give his mind the option to retreat. He ordered it to see every failure as one step closer. That level of mental command is why the world is illuminated today. And Walt Disney, the man whose imagination built an empire, was fired from a newspaper because they said he lacked creativity. Most people would have believed the criticism. Most people would have surrendered. But Disney wasn't most people. He understood something the world didn't. The mind is the gateway to all that can exist. And if he kept control of that gateway, he could create anything he desired. And he did. So ask yourself, what could you build if your mind stopped resisting you? What could you become if your thoughts aligned with your purpose instead of your fears? How far could your life expand if you stopped allowing your mind to run wild with doubt, hesitation, and negativity? Because the real prison is never your circumstances. The real prison is the untrained mind that interprets those circumstances. Understand this. Your mind is always taking commands. The question is who is giving them fear, comfort. Your childhood patterns, your environment, your past failures, or you? The version of you who knows what you want. The version of you who sees the future clearly. The version of you who refuses to die with potential still inside. That version must become the commander. And you command the mind through repetition, emotional intensity, and clarity. Not once, not occasionally, not only when you feel motivated. Daily, relentlessly, unapologetically, until your mind bends to your vision, not your limitations. Because if you don't claim authority over your thinking, your mind will always choose the path of least resistance. It will choose comfort over purpose, safety over growth, familiarity over greatness. But greatness is never found in comfort, never found in safety, never found in familiarity. Greatness begins where your excuses end. So breathe deeply, stand taller, and listen. Your mind is watching you, waiting for you, shaped by you. Every thought is a seed. Every emotion is fuel. Every belief is a blueprint for the life you are constructing. And now, right now, is the moment you decide whether you will be the architect or the prisoner, whether you will lead your mind or be led by it, whether you rise or remain the same. Because the life you want, the success you visualize at night, the abundance you crave, the confidence you admire in others, the discipline you know you're capable of, all of it begins with one unwavering truth: command your mind, or it will command you.